Thank you for tuning in to Spirit of Harmony. I'm your host, John Morton, and today we are here with Timm Johnson. He's going to be talking about a song that he found to be an excellent selection to break down on this podcast. Timm, welcome to the program.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
To begin with, I want to give you a chance to tell us about yourself and describe the role that music plays in your day-to-day life.
Oh, man. So, yeah, I'm Timm, obviously. I'm primarily a game developer, and a lot of things I do kind of orbit around that. Oftentimes, music gets me through the day. And one of the big things is I like music to help get me going. It's like, okay, I want to do this, I want to do that. I'm the kind of person who wants to do, like, all kinds of things, but I can't do half of it. But if music helps me get moving, get up, and get going, then that's huge for me. So I tend to like more upbeat things, but I also really like to latch on to melodies more than words in songs. Like, if a song has, the words are okay, but the melody's amazing, I'm gonna love it. If it's the other way around, maybe it's a good song, but maybe not for me. So I guess that's also because I so often listen to music while working or while doing other things.
Right.
Where I don't want all these words coming in, but I do want music. I do want something to push, some kind of emotion.
Yeah, I definitely relate to that. I find that when listening to music, especially if it's something that I haven't heard before, the melody is the first thing that I cling on to. I think that that's an important part of the whole act of composition, is getting an engaging melody to grab the listener's attention. If you get attached to a melody enough after repeated listens, you do develop a curiosity about the lyrics. It's easier to want to dive in and figure out what the singer is talking about in a certain piece.
Yeah, that is actually a perfect summary of of how I got into this band, Stratovarius. I heard their music, I'm like, this sounds amazing. And there was one particular song that I heard. It was over a time-lapse video of some guy building this electronic device back when I was in high school, and I was trying to build a similar device.
Yeah.
But seeing this time-lapse of him building this thing and hearing this song in the background gave me so much motivation to, do it myself and keep pushing on that. And the song had to do with, it was called Eagle Heart, that song. It had to do with, okay, you got this big dream and you're going to push on it, and with lots of intensity. Yeah, so that was cool. That was my first introduction to the band. And I heard the song, I'm like, that sounds amazing. And then hearing it a few times, I'm like, oh, these lyrics are great too. I'm into, a lot of the music I got into music through was very optimistic kind of music, very cheery stuff. And
yeah.
Heck, you also mentioned latching on to melodies. The real way I got into listening to music was video game music. And most of that music, especially the older stuff, it's all about the melody. Because in the old days, there could be no lyrics. Back on the Nintendo, the Super Nintendo and stuff like that. Sega Genesis.
Right.
So they had to come up with some catchy melody. I was super into that. And then as time went on, games got more complex. And sorry, I hope I'm not jumping ahead with the questions you prepared, but...
No, you're fine.
Yeah. There was a point when I was in middle school and I wasn't really into music the way my friends were. And a lot of them were into the Beatles, and I don't know if that's typical for for my generation or not, but...
It wasn't for me growing up in my schooling experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just my particular friend group. But everyone in the grade, they all had iPods and listened to music and CDs and stuff, and I wasn't really into that stuff. Until I got to this point, I was playing this game, Sonic Adventure 2, and at the very end of the game, final boss battle, they play a song, and this song, you've heard the melody throughout the game, but now the song has words, and it's like the full version of the song.
Oh, gotcha.
So I had this moment where time stopped, and I'm like, wow, this is an incredible song. And after that moment, I wanted music, I wanted CDs, I wanted an iPod and all that stuff.
Yeah, I love that. You mentioned earlier about music getting you through the day. I mean, that's something. It's definitely a tool that I use to help me get going in the morning. On a similar note, I mean, one thing that certainly gets me motivated to go about the day is the possibility of discovering something new that I hadn't heard before, whether it's, when I'm out somewhere at work or in the grocery store running errands, something of that nature. You never know when something is going to come on the radio that's going to grab your attention, and that whole process of latching onto the melody and then diving into the lyrics starts all over again.
Right. Radio is great for that because you never know what you're going to get on the radio.
Yeah, it seemed more so back in the day that it was the case, especially when stations would play whatever they felt like. It's a little more boxed in now, it feels like. You have your classic rock stations or your contemporary pop stations. It's a little more divided in that regard. But there's still ample opportunities to discover new stuff through whatever station you're listening to, or even if it's through streaming. If you're just letting the algorithm take you to wherever it may land you at.
Yep. Yeah. Occasionally that stuff, the stuff on the radio does feel fresh for me because I feel like my musical background, where I came from and what I've listened to, is in such a different sphere than the typical popular stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
So I was talking to one of my coworkers about the Eagles the other day. And,
oh, man.
And he was telling me about the Bee Gees, and it's like, yeah, I know Whitney Houston.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, this song's by Whitney Houston. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. I've heard this song 100 times. I didn't know. I've heard the name Whitney Houston. I just don't know this stuff. Who
Right.
these people are.
Yeah, it's funny how often that happens. You know the song, but you don't know the artist behind it. You spend sometimes it's a whole lifetime you go through, and you only at some point along the road figure out who it is, or are told who it is in that case.
Right.
As far as another point you brought up earlier was some of your friends being into artists that our generation aren't as into, at least as kids. I mean, I was definitely the same way growing up. It reminds me so much of being in middle school and discovering Elton John and the Eagles. Those were the first two concerts I ever went to. And I can tell you for sure at 12 or 13 years old, it was not cool to like either of them.
Oh, interesting.
Not that I was picked on or anything. I mean, but I would, I'd bring it up from time to time, and people would just kind of smile and nod, and not, at least as I remember it, not take too much note of it. As I've gotten older, it has evolved a little bit. Younger generations are discovering that older music more, so the appreciation of the 60s, 70s, and 80s work has definitely increased. I mean, I would like to think that nowadays among teenagers, it's definitely cooler to be into that particular style of music.
Yeah, I would like to think so, but I like it when people can just be into the music they like, and I think today's musical world is pretty good about that, just because there's so many different things. So, in some ways, I mean, I heard some short video of Weird Al talking about how since our culture, as far as what music we listen to, is so all over the place, he doesn't do very many covers anymore because there's not too many new songs that everybody knows.
That's true. We definitely don't live in a monoculture.
Right. So in some ways that's a bad thing, but in some ways that is a nice thing because we don't have people who are like, yeah, this is the hip thing and we don't care about everything else.
Yeah, it certainly seems that there aren't as many popular songs out there that bring people together. I mean, obviously there's still artists that have tens of millions of fans.
Oh yeah.
But there definitely doesn't seem to be too many examples of songs that bring generations of people together. It feels a little more closed off as far as fandoms go. A lot of music seems to be made with a particular demographic in mind.
Yeah.
There's not as much regard for longevity or making something that anybody can appreciate.
I mean, I'm not sure how I feel about that statement. I feel like there's definitely people making cool stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it's just that the world of music distribution is so all over the place nowadays that it's hard to make something and just put it in front of a general audience. It's, in my head, it's like a question of how do you get it to people? And if you get it to people through this medium, through this social media, then that's the little pocket of people who will hear it. As opposed to, I guess that's like what we were talking about earlier with the radio. When the radio used to play more new songs and more, I guess, what were for the time different things, then there's a lot more broad awareness of new styles and new fads and stuff.
Yeah.
But, yeah, now that we've gone down that rabbit hole, yeah, I can't imagine a lot of what I think of as newer genres being on the radio at all.
Yeah, I mean, certainly as far as younger people go, they tend to gravitate more towards streaming to discover something. And listening to the radio is definitely more of an older generation, a practice of older generations. So it's the landscape has certainly changed in that regard as far as the means of getting music out there, and older generations are more inclined to. Up until recently, older generations definitely would have been more inclined to buy physical media, but vinyl's comeback is largely attributed to younger generations wanting something to cling on to. It's come back into style because there are younger folks that do like having the tangible means of listening to in any style of music now, whether it's old school or something contemporary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, vinyls are fun. It's cool to have something to hold and a beautiful album. Like, I love CDs, but you look at a vinyl album, it's just a giant square. It's not quite a poster, but it's a statement for sure.
Yeah.
They look cool, they feel cool. It's cool just seeing them play. So that's a fun activity.
You get different artwork on certain vinyls. I mean, some artists will put out several different variants of the same album, but it's Technicolor, gold, sky blue, whatever comes to mind.
Yeah, it reminds me of comic books, actually.
Ooh, that's a good point.
Yeah, some comic books, they will do variant covers where it's the exact same comic book on the inside, but the cover is different. And so you might buy cover A or cover B, or if you're a collector, you might want to buy cover A and cover B and pay twice for the same thing. Which, the artwork is really cool. They definitely deliver, and I guess for the one comic that I followed, usually I'm not unhappy no matter what cover I get. They all look amazing. But I'm also not one of those collectors who feels the need to pay for the thing again just to get that other cover.
Right.
At the same time, I guess comic books is definitely one of those industries where they're struggling to break even, make enough money, so it's kind of cool that they can offer an option like that doesn't restrict people who don't want to pay more from enjoying the full comic, but also if you're really into it, you can pay them more to get something extra.
I hate the artwork has become more the focus as far as the variants go, because I do appreciate when artists put out different editions of albums with bonus tracks on them. I remember growing up, in the early 2010s in particular, it was a popular act for artists to put out a variant of an album that was exclusive to a certain retailer, like Target or Walmart, and they would have certain bonus tracks on there. I can understand people collecting those different versions just to get all the songs associated with a certain project.
Right.
Definitely not as big of a fan of just getting the same album with different artwork. I don't get the appeal. I want to get all the songs. I don't care about the different artwork.
Right, that makes sense to me. Yeah, honestly, I think comic books, it makes a little more sense because they are more art-centric. But yeah, music, when I look for something to buy, I'm kind of with you. I do want all the songs, but I'm not, as much as I like having a physical CD and an insert, I'm not really going to want to pay extra for the insert.
Right.
As long as I'm getting the songs. If I like it enough, I can... This is also because I'm so long using the internet, I'm of the mindset that, I can just go online and find the lyrics. I can go online and download the cover art.
That's a good point.
Yeah, and sometimes I'm listening to music digitally anyway so often, so I'm not pulling out the CD and pulling it out of its case too often. That's also funny because it's coming from me who listens to CDs on a daily basis. But that's usually in my car, where I have this CD book that has all these different CDs in it. So I just pack it up from my CD cases and then unzip it and go through, find what CD I want, and pop that in. Yeah, I've even got, looking through it, I've got some that are LightScribe CDs. That's a bit of an old thing now, but it's a thing that lets you burn an image on the front of the disc. So you burn the songs on the back, and then you burn an image on the front. And it just makes it look super cool.
I know, I really like that.
Yeah. That one I messed up on.
From 2018?
Yep. Here we go, this one.
All right, this is the 1981 mix for our listeners here.
Yeah, so these LightScribe CDs, they are limited to just 2 colors. There's some limitations, but I just think it's so cool having this physical CD with an image on the front that's customized, and sometimes I even list the tracks on the CD, so I can pull it out and look at what tracks are on it. If I can cool custom art.
if I can describe it, it looks like a mashup of Tron and Back to the Future. If anyone listening wants to conjure that up in their mind, and then just name a couple of songs, we got More Than Words, Boys of Summer, an excellent selection of 80s classics.
So yeah, I'm into the CD ecosystem.
I love it.
So yeah, you were talking about going to different stores to find CDs. If I know a song and I like a song, I've heard it a lot, I can tell the difference between like good quality and great quality. So I'm one of those people who will, if I can, hunt down the highest quality version of a track to put on my custom CD.
Definitely.
So sometimes that means going out and buying this, or going on eBay, buying the CD for $5. That's an album, just so I can get this one song. Mm-hmm. Ideally, I can find it in some online seller that sells these high quality FLAC files, is what they're called. Yeah. That have no loss in quality, as opposed to most of what you're listening to on Spotify, on iTunes, on Amazon. They compress it and it reduces the quality of the song.
Yeah.
And when I realized I could tell the difference, then I was like, oh no. I wouldn't notice every single day, probably every single time I listen, but the fact that I know I can tell the difference makes me want that higher quality version.
Definitely.
And that's another reason I love CDs, because believe it or not, CDs have that lossless quality on them.
Yeah, when I'm working on my own music in GarageBand, and I always make a point to make them WAV files. The files most commonly used for CDs, because I have that quality in mind. Even though I know most of the people that listen to it are going to be listening to it on their phone, I still like having the peace of mind knowing that someone can listen to it in their car or at home, wherever they are, other than on their phone.
Right. No, I love that commitment, because it's one of those things. For maybe 80% of people, it doesn't make a difference, but when someone puts it on a big sound system, or you get someone listening on headphones who's really into it, then, yes, there's a difference.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate that.
All right. Well, continuing on, today we are digging into the world of power metal, exploring a song that is heavy in its structure and its composition, a piece about facing death and contemplating the legacy we leave behind in that process. The band is Stratovarius, and the song is If the Story Is Over. Johnny Lee Mataiman's lyrics find a man looking back on life, depicting it as a page filled by a myriad of stories, albeit ones that lack meaning to him. Once upon a time, I was the scribe of all my dreams. I've seen the years turn into dust, now feel the rust in me. I've walked the shores of Avalon, I've seen the seasons change. I've laughed and cried, I've lived and died, but only on the page. Now all I have, all I am, all I ever was is here, on the page. It's all the same, it never mattered anyway. It's all a lie, so let it burn. In making this realization about the events of his life, the chorus sees the man hoping that his final days on earth will prove to be the most substantial, ones that he can truly take ownership of. All empty words and all rhymes will fade, as the light of last candle flickers away. If the story is over, this chapter my last, let it be my best one, let it be my own. The man then goes into detail about his aspirations for the time he has left, aiming to make the most of his time, to give of himself and make something of himself after leading a desolate life. Furthermore, he is prepared to take on the challenges that come with these goals. I hope it's not too late to learn to live and learn to love. I yearn to fight, to turn the tide before the tender dark. For I never drew the sword from stone, there's no Helen in my Troy. I stand alone, I stand forgotten, just gazing into the void. Come night, test my will, test my soul, test my faith and test my heart, torn apart. Make me strong, make me whole again, and guide through the dark till the morning comes. If the Story Is Over was released in 2013, making it the most recent song we've discussed on the podcast thus far. Tim, were you a fan of Stratovarius when this song was released, or did you first hear it sometime later?
So I actually heard it years later, probably not until 2020-ish. I don't know if I had heard of Stratovarius yet in 2013. as I mentioned earlier, there was this video someone posted on YouTube with some Stratovarius music in the background. But that was basically my only exposure to Stratovarius for years, until later on I was looking up this song, that song, and started to wonder, what other songs does this band do? And then I started looking into more and more, and I thought maybe I should buy a CD. And I started looking at their albums, found, there's an album, The Best Of, that has like a bajillion songs of it on 2 discs. Yeah. That sounds great. So I listened to it on YouTube, as I do, because just my generation, I guess, to see if it was something I thought I'd like. I thought it sounded amazing, so I remember ordering it and genuinely being very excited for this CD, this 2 CD box to arrive. And then I started listening to this set of CDs, and honestly, at first, the songs all kind of blended together. Aside from at this point, there were 2 that I knew, but all the rest of the songs just kind of like, it's a lot of music coming at me. Yeah. I wasn't entirely sure what the vocalist was saying in half of them, and honestly, that is something I do like about the songs, though, is that the vocals are not loud and everything else is quiet. The vocals kind of just blend in with all the instruments. Yeah. They're not really elevated above everything else. They're more just part of the mix, and honestly, the vocals and the instruments, all of them kind of mesh like a zipper. They just work so well together to make this sound that I really like and these melodies that I really like. So yeah, I listened to these CDs, and after a couple years of listening to these CDs, after a while I listened to it again. More recently, I've started doing a part-time pizza delivery job, and I realized that Stratovarius is my favorite band to listen to while delivering pizza. It's really upbeat, so it keeps me awake and energized and ready, but also there's some deep emotional stuff in there. It's not just, let's go, let's go, let's go. There's also stuff like this song, which is a totally different tone and kind of delves into like themes of death and depression and finding purpose in life. I love it when a band that usually does one style does a different style. And yeah, there's a more heavy band, but this song, for half of it, there's no guitars. It's just very light. Or there's acoustic guitars, I guess. But yeah, you wouldn't think it's a metal song from hearing the first half of the song.
Right. That sounds very much like the old school way of discovering artists. You hear one song and then you think, I should just get an album eventually. Yeah. And a greatest hit set is an excellent way to start to dig into somebody's work. Sadly, those sorts of releases have become less common, largely because of streaming. The rise of streaming has eliminated any purpose for a greatest hit set specifically. That and the decline of the sales of physical media. Right.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with those numbers as much as I like having CDs. Yeah. I like getting them when I really like the band, when the music is important to me. Just that way I can keep it and it won't disappear. I've actually had one artist I really like, pretty much their whole discography just disappeared, and it was not online anymore.
Wow.
And that artist also decided to take a big break from social media. And so some of this stuff, it wasn't exactly lost media, but it was basically unavailable for multiple years until the artist came back and he told the story, and part of it was his distribution partner just decided to stop distributing it, and so suddenly it disappeared from YouTube, it disappeared from Spotify, it wasn't for sale anywhere anymore, and made me think, oh man, I wish I had downloaded more of that, I wish I had saved more of that.
Right.
And he made sure, more recently, he put all his music back up, but the music videos that he used to make many of them are just gone. Wow. And I had some videos I loved there. In fact, the video that I discovered Stratovarius through is private on YouTube or deleted. It's no longer accessible, so I can't show you that. I can't watch that myself to be nostalgic about it. It's just not there.
It's definitely a sign of the times.
Yeah.
What artist was that?
He went by Tsuko G. Tsuko and then G, period.
Gotcha.
He got to start doing covers and then started making original songs, made an original album, and then just kind of stopped. It's interesting because a lot of his songs on his album actually had to do with getting out of the social media hustle and living a real life. And then he took a big break from social media for years. And it's like, well, hey, this is kind of what he was talking about in his music. It makes sense.
Do you remember when that was? That all that happened?
So I think it was 2021 when he released his album, and his channel had no videos for at least a couple years. I think it was sometime this year that he finally uploaded a new video for the first time in multiple years and explained some of what happened and what his stance was on certain things, and talked about what he would do going forward. And Little Dramatic also said, "Here's my real name," not so that people could follow him more, but just because he wants to be more genuine and less goofy, I think, is the idea. More genuine. And a lot of the stuff he had done in the past was quite silly. He got to start doing covers, but then he kind of went viral for doing kazoo covers of songs.
Oh, okay.
And people loved that, and he was kind of sick of it after a while.
Yeah.
But there was even a video later on where he resurrected the kazoo thing, and he had a gag of him going out and digging up the kazoo out of a grave before doing the cover. Just a little gag, and then the cover was true to form.
Yeah.
But it was funny, because it was funny to watch, but you don't think about the fact that this is actually how that guy felt about doing another kazoo cover.
Yeah, it was a big deal. I can imagine his reluctance to dive back into that, but I'm sure it was a nice bit of fan service.
Certainly. Yeah, no, I digress quite a bit, but that is one example where it is important to buy music and keep music that you really like, because it really could disappear if it's just on the web. Things on the web are not permanent.
That's a good point.
The web might stay, but those old websites, those old songs, those old videos, any moment they could disappear. YouTube makes a change in their policy, and suddenly 20% of what's there could disappear. As a big YouTube user, that's a big deal to me. And I've started to learn that, hey, if it's really important, I should download it.
Absolutely.
Keep it on my giant computer here with multiple terabytes of space.
Yeah, I would imagine, if I thought about it long enough, there might be some music that I've heard on there that is no longer accessible.
Mm-hmm.
But it's fascinating to think about that with the advent of the internet, the control that it gives the artists over the distribution of their work. I mean, if they're solely dependent on that and not using physical media at all to get their work out there.
Right. No, it's a rabbit hole. Because then I start thinking about distribution, and my issues even trying to buy lossless quality music, because the marketplaces aren't really set up for that.
Right.
I don't think it's a conspiracy or anything, but, they sell something that's good enough for people to buy, and if you're in that minority that wants the CD quality, then sometimes there's just no options. But, I mean, as I'm sure, as you are too, I'm someone who, music isn't my job or anything, but I really love it, and if there's a song I think is really important, I'm really into art in general, beyond just music, and, having something as it was intended, the full quality, having the full piece of art preserved is a big deal to me.
Definitely. As far as if the story is over goes, do you recall what your reaction was to hearing it for the first time?
Yeah, so, like I said, I don't recall the first time and my first time reaction, because, honestly, so many amazing songs on the album, they kind of blended together in my head. Once I listened to it more and more, and I kind of solidified and built separate ideas around each song, I realized I can kind of relate to this song quite a bit, in a way. And, I try not to be the old man in the song, but I relate to that old man quite a bit. Yeah, he talks about being the scribe of all his dreams, seeing things turn into dust, feel the rust. I mean, I feel older than my age. I can relate to that.
Same.
Driving around in my old car with a CD player. But yeah, having all these different experiences. But then he says, but only on the page. And that's a huge shift in context. Well, it's really kind of the same as the first line. Scribe of all my dreams, done all this stuff, but only on the page. So I'm really into video game development, and I have other things I do on occasion. I'll do a little graphic design and this and that on the side, but the main thing I do is video game development, and I have all these memories of spending so much time working on projects that's the biggest thing. Like, I love artistic works, I love video games, but I'm the type of person who works on projects, and sometimes I'll be working on a project and, you know, people will be watching TV in the next room, I'll be wondering what's going on, or I'll be working on a project and the classic thing in college of, like, people are outside playing Frisbee and stuff, but I'm sitting inside the magic lab. They actually called one of the labs that. Sitting inside the magic lab, maybe looking out the window now and then, but tied to the computer, working on some project that's a really cool artistic thing, sure, and it has all this emotion that I'm trying to put into it and expression, but it is in that piece of art, and if no one ever sees it, then that's where it'll sit forever. I wasn't out there seeing my friends do all this stuff, and I don't really regret it, because I did balance this. I did spend time, like, going out, hanging out with friends and stuff, but there always was that little pull when I would sit down and focus of, I know there's other people out there having fun, and doing this and doing that, and forging relationships, and my place right now is just to sit down and focus on making this work. And so the sun rises, the sun goes down, you know, people are outside, people are walking this way, that way. I feel like college is the best place for this imagery, because you can literally look out the window and see people walking around everywhere.
I get that, yeah.
Yeah, and having fun and stuff. But before college, I had kind of the same feeling, and after college, I had kind of the same feeling, and there's always been a little bit of a question in my head that never has had a full, this is the answer of how much time should I really spend working on projects and building artistic works compared to actually going out and living my own life and having my own adventures and meeting people and forging relationships with other humans. And I love people. I love I love going on adventures and doing things, but
yeah,
it seems like my main place is to sit down and maybe have some adventures, but then take those ideas and turn them into some piece of art. So yeah, I spend so much of my time not going to things that I could, not seeing people who I could, not doing things I could, just to take these ideas that are in my head and try to put them into something that other people can experience.
I love that. I mean, I totally get that. That's because I have the same approach to making music, and there are times where you have to strike a balance between creating something that allows you to express yourself and open your heart up to people, but also being in the world with people in some capacity.
Right.
I mean, it's important that you do that because it gives you the experiences that you can then apply to your art.
100%.
But it's a tricky balance to attain, because I mean, I certainly get caught up in tinkering away at little details of the work that I'm doing. You know, also thinking like I should be out doing such and such with these people, trying to cultivate these relationships. But it's easy to become protective, possessive of your own work, because it's like, you know, your artwork is like it's like your kid. It's this thing that is uniquely yours,
right?
And it's your way of leaving a mark on the world, even if it's just, you know, whatever, a small audience that you have. It still holds a significant meaning in your heart, at least.
Yeah, no, it really does. And I think for me, one of the ideas is, at least with the stuff I make, I like to think that it can make some kind of positive impact on another person. And so, yet at the same time, if you lose touch with people in general, these are the kinds of people you're trying to help with your work, then and get too stuck in your own head, then I feel like it's not really going to go anywhere.
Right.
Like, I really believe there's got to be something real going into this art. Otherwise, it's not going to have much value. So yeah, it's a balance to be struck.
Definitely.
It's I definitely have leaned probably too far one way at certain points and too far the other way at certain points, and try to walk that line. That way I don't end up like this guy in the song.
If it applies to any of the members of the band, I must say they channel those emotions excellently into the song. I don't think it does, because I mean, I looked up at least the lyricist so I could spell his name correctly for the script, and I believe he's in his mid-40s now. So he would have been in his early 30s when this song was written and produced. So I don't think it applies to them.
Yeah.
At least literally, but in their own minds, for sure. It's possible they have the same old souls that both of us have.
Maybe. A couple hours before this conversation, I was actually reading the first couple pages in the CD insert, Here we go. Here's a little quote from the intro on the CD insert. For all of us 8 band members that I have shared the spotlight with over the years, the band has outlasted many girlfriends, wives, friendships, crew members, record labels, booking agencies, and brain cells. It outlasted the Spanish peseta, the Finnish marka, I think those are currencies, fax machines, reel-to-reel tape, and Windows 98. Stratovarius has always been about becoming something that is bigger than the sum of its parts. Together with the fans, that sum is something huge and something I'm very proud of joining, fighting for, and a few times helping to save from the brink of disaster. The CD insert as a whole is not really gloom and doom in its tone, but that is probably the most intense paragraph. Yeah, I can only imagine what touring in a band is like and recording and all that pressure.
Yeah. So it's definitely a shared experience among them. From what I understand, they went through quite a few personnel changes, so it is feasible that some of the members, other than the lyricists, resonate with this song a little bit more in particular.
Yeah, it's also interesting. It makes me wonder what the band is up to now, because this compilation album is 2016, and I probably bought it in 2020-ish, but even that was 5 years ago now. Was this a swan song and they're done making music, or are they still doing new things, or are they balancing it now more with their lives and having more of a life outside of the band in addition to doing some stuff? Because you can balance it, but I really don't know.
Hopefully the story isn't over.
I hope not. Yeah, as the light of last... all I have, all I am, all I ever was is here on the page. All the same, it never mattered anyway. It's all a lie, so let it burn. Yeah, that really gets into, like, getting frustrated with your state in life and just, okay, this thing I've worked so hard on, my life's work, let's just burn it so we can move on. I don't know. I feel like everyone who's worked really hard on something feels that at some point. And I guess you mentioned your work being like a kid, and it's kind of like with a kid, where it's like, you get really upset at your kid. You don't actually want to do anything bad to your kid, but
yeah,
I'm sure it gets frustrating sometimes.
And it's in those moments that you have to step away and get back into the real world for a little bit before you return and listen to it with fresh ears, in my case.
Right. Yeah. All empty words and all rhymes will fade. As the light of last candle flickers away, if the story is over, this chapter my last, let it be my best one, let it be my own. And this actually makes me think of a particular artist, a cartoonist and an author and a cartoon creator named Doug TenNapel. I remember watching on YouTube at some point him giving a talk about how, or maybe it's something he wrote somewhere, about how the art system, the Hollywood system, whatever, it likes to bring in people with talent, but then kind of chew them up and spit them out. And in 20 years, all that stuff they worked so hard on is in a garbage can, more than likely. The truth is, some of it does last longer than others, and some of it will be valued by some people. But most of the art that we make is enjoyed for a relatively short time. It's worth making. I'm not saying it's not worth making, but it's just good to keep it all in perspective.
Right. It's only a limited selection of work that stands the test of time.
Right.
That people will be talking about decades from now.
Yeah. Even this band, it might be an obscure band. I'm not sure how to measure that. But I heard it through a very unusual route. I don't know how most fans would have heard about this music. I assume it was popular with some crowd at some time, but I was never part of that crowd. So
right.
I actually don't know a single other person who is a fan of the band. So in a way, it almost feels like I found something, I don't know, some ancient relic or something, antique, that's the word, that, oh wow, it's so valuable to me.
Yeah.
Even though I don't know anyone else who sees it that way.
It's appealing. There's an appeal to being a fan of an obscure artist. You know, if it has a really small following and nobody else in your circle knows about it, it's sort of like your own little secret that you just take pleasure out of yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I do like to share it with people. I don't want to just hoard it for myself and keep it a secret.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you listened to the song and enjoyed it. It's a cool song, and I think a really cool band, especially all that instrumental stuff they do. Every song has a melody. The melodies are interesting. Honestly, this song, you could see it as pretty depressing, but I do like that even this song ends on an optimistic note. Like, yeah, there's a point he's saying, "Come night, test my will, test my soul." It's like, okay, we're getting to this really dark part of a story. But then what does he ask next? "Make me strong, make me whole again, and guide through the dark till the morning comes." Like, oh, something better is coming. And then the refrain repeats kind of ad nauseum, but I really enjoy the whole song, and the instruments change. It changes a little bit each time, even though the words are the same as the refrain repeats and repeats.
Yeah.
And that, to me, helps to keep my interest a lot more. "All empty words and all rhymes will fade as the light of last candle flickers away. If the story's over, this chapter my last, let it be my best one. Let it be my own." So even in the midst of all this, we do have that spirit of, what are we going to do? I'm going to try to do the best thing I possibly can.
Right.
And, it's not necessarily blind optimism, but it is a sense of, I'm going to try, and I'm going to do absolutely the best I can. So I think that's an incredible message for someone who's depressed, who's going through a dark night, for someone who's struggling.
I know we've talked a lot about the lyrics and the structure, well, the lyrics in particular. What aspects of it from a production or like arrangement standpoint jump out to you? I know we talked about it a little bit before we started recording, after, as we listened to the song.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that the song starts out in such a kind of calm and soothing way. Like, it's not in your face. It's very quiet. It's very gentle. The song never mentions the old man. It kind of implies it in the lyrics, but the feel of it, I think, is what hammers that home. It's like, okay, quiet sounds, acoustic guitars, some choruses in the background, almost angelic sounding choruses, you could say. Like, this definitely sounds like music for someone who's on death's door, or someone who's seen a lot and they're reflecting back on it. It stays pretty light and gentle. As gentle is a better word. It stays very gentle as it's going through most of the lyrics. And that gives you a lot more time to kind of contemplate on what is going on here. I kind of wish I could look at the music the way I can look at the lyrics, but
Right.
Because I'd see a lot more, hear a lot more. But yeah, they have several different instruments. The melody flows very nicely. And then it makes a big point. And something I definitely recall is right after it makes a big point is where the song changes a bit. You get the drums coming in, and then the electric guitars come in, and it feels a lot heavier. It's a lot louder. Not to the point it deafens you. That's one thing I like about this band. They're heavy, but they're not like screamo. They're not screaming at you. So they're still singing louder now. And once we hit that refrain, where it's like, okay, we got this dire situation, and then we end on this optimistic notes, that's when all the big instruments come in, and it suddenly feels very powerful. So you have this long, kind of beautiful, but very kind of grim and dark reflection on what's been going on in one's life, and what's been going on with this art that they've been making, what they've been devoting all their time to. And you know what, maybe that doesn't all matter very much anyway, because referencing certain art, here, there's other more important things perhaps, but then we get something very powerful, something, I guess I could say uplifting, when we get to the more optimistic part of the song.
Yeah.
So all the instruments come in, they work well together. The chorus doesn't go away either. It just I don't know if it even sounds different, but it feels different. It's definitely louder. It's got to keep up with everything else.
Yeah, as far as the structure goes, that was getting into the ending, when things really build up and become more powerful. The thing that jumped out the most to me was the key changes, which is something that nowadays you don't, especially in pop music, you don't hear a lot of. But there are two that take place towards the end of the song with the last two choruses, and that really intensifies the whole thing. Key changes are not common in contemporary music, so any time that they do appear in something more recent, it's particularly noticeable. And this track has not one, but two of them. And they, of course, occur during the last two choruses of the song. And they add a sense of urgency to that particular portion of the song. It reinforces the notion that time is quickly running out. Or this aspiring hero, that's the way that by the end, I was looking at him as. With each modulation, death is inching closer, it seems. And so he has this obligation to get out of his void and be a man of action before before time runs out for him.
Yeah, I love that. We talked about what role music plays in my life, and this is how I want music to make me feel. Ready to do that.
Yeah, it's an excellent motivator.
And the fact that the intro is just so beautiful also, and kind of mellow, just makes it feel almost like you're getting a 2-in-1 with this song. Of like, yeah, it's so beautiful and so calm and so relaxing, but also pushes you to do great things. It doesn't just let you get sleepy.
Yeah.
That's one thing I think is not unique to art, but is a big thing when you're working on something artistic, is that spending time on something doesn't necessarily mean you're making progress. Mm-hmm. You can spend 2 hours and hardly get anything done, or you can spend 2 hours and make crazy progress, depending on who knows what.
Yeah.
If I figure it out, I'll let you know. It feels like there's just so many little things that can affect it. But yeah, it's, for me at least, it's a very inconsistent output.
Yeah, I can relate to that too.
Mm-hmm. Once you get good enough and have enough practice, I think you get good enough that even your worst days, you're still getting things done. And so I think that's one of the differences between like a novice artist and a more experienced artist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just a matter of practicing, and you're not always going to have those top days, but even your worst days might be better than your top days from 10 years ago.
Right. I know you mentioned discovering this song around 2020.
Yeah.
And we don't really know a whole lot about the band's whereabouts nowadays. But would you say that your relationship with this song has evolved and all over the last couple of years?
I definitely would. Yeah, because I've been listening. I mentioned I love listening to this band while delivering pizza, and it just gives me so much time to really spend a lot of time with it, because it does give me the energy to just keep driving, even if it's 12:30 a.m. and someone ordered a pizza 15 minutes away. Right. I got to drive through the dark and get there. And definitely not, don't want to get drowsy at the wheel. So, brilliant band. But like I said, all these deeper meanings gives me more for my mind to chew on than if it was just fast-paced power metal with all this depth to it. But one thing I love about them is, so if you turn on the radio, like 90% of the songs are love songs, and there's nothing wrong with love songs. They're good, they're fine, but when 90% of music is that, it's nice to listen to something that's different.
Mm-hmm.
I actually had a friend who went through a breakup recently, and they mentioned they need to listen to more songs that aren't love songs, and I'm like,
yeah.
Yeah. It's nice to have other things to think about, other things to listen to, and this song we're talking about, a great song, really cool lyrics too, and the melody and everything, the instruments, the performances, fantastically full of expression. Sure, there's an allusion to love, but it's absolutely not a love song. It's about something totally different.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the songs this band makes are about very different things. Some of them are more vague and emotional, but a lot of them are about personal journeys, about like getting through, overcoming obstacles in life, like working through depression or some kind of mental things, or dealing with people who are hard to deal with. One of them took me by surprise, because the song starts out with like the sound of a jet, like whoosh, mm-hmm. and then it starts out with some very fast-paced guitars, and it's like, okay, so I would assume that this is a song about like, let's be flying really fast or something, and being all cool or something. And once I learned the lyrics better, and I heard the song enough that I understood what the words were and what they were talking about, I realized, wait a minute. Okay, so I was wrong. I started listening to the lyrics, and I heard them make a reference to flying. Okay, jet, flying. I heard them mention Destination Unknown, and I'm like, is that a Top Gun reference? That's the song in the Top Gun soundtrack. I love that song. I love that soundtrack. But then I listened to more of the words, and I'm like, wait a minute. And then I look up the lyrics, and I'm like, oh, this song is not about the thrill of flying in a jet. This song is about being afraid of flying in a commercial airliner. It starts out with the jet sound and the guitars and tension, and like, yes, this person is afraid when they're hearing the jet engine spin up, and then the plane picks up into the sky, and they're all like, oh boy, I don't like this. just got a bunch of nerves and stuff, and who knows where they're going or how they're getting there.
Right.
But hopefully they can be safe and get there. And oh boy, they got nerves along the way. And it's it's just such a like kind of pedestrian topic to cover, but it comes across through, it's expressed through such a cool song.
Right. I mean, it sounds very interesting.
Yeah.
I want to look it up now.
Yeah. And once I, listening to it again and knowing the lyrics, it's like, yeah, actually the lyrics and the instruments and the way it feels, it works perfectly well together. It's not a mismatch at all, but but just some very off-the-wall thing. It makes the song a lot more interesting and makes the album a lot more interesting that there's all this different stuff in it.
That's the fun thing about music is, it's not just about the instruments, but sometimes random effects like that can, more so than the instruments, exemplify a point that an artist wants to make with their piece.
Right. Yeah, one of the songs has a really cool sound, and man, this, like I said, this band is more melody in the sound than it is the lyrics, but I think it's the sound of glass shattering, but it's played backwards. And every time I hear it, I'm just like, that's such a cool sound. Sometimes I'm like, let me rewind that and get the replay of just this whoosh kind of sound of, I think it's glass shattering backwards.
Okay.
But it's just like such a cool sound they put in this track.
Yeah.
I forget which track it is. I'm generally listening to the whole album at once, so it still makes it hard for me to remember, like, which song is on which CD or what are they called. But yeah, lots of good stuff. I'm flipping through the book now, trying to find that song about the plane, if I can. Distant Skies is the one with the plane.
Makes sense.
Right? Yeah, the very first verse. This took me a while to notice, because with all the other instruments, the lyrics don't stand above everything else. But once you hear the words, it's pretty obvious. Or read them. Went into the plane, was scared like hell. Tried to relax for a while. And when we took off, I feared we would fall, waving goodbye to this life. Not what I expected, but it's a cool song. Silhouettes in the... skipping ahead a little bit. Silhouettes in the sky, wings are carrying me through the night. Silhouettes in the sky, destination unknown, distant skies.
This feels like the anti-danger zone.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. Yeah, there's one song about environmental concerns too, and yeah, Eagle Heart was the first song I heard from this band. Yeah, the refrain goes, "Heart of an eagle, he flies through the rainbow, into a new world who finds the sun, spreading his wings above all the sorrows, the glory of Eagle Heart." Very vague, sounds very fantastical.
Yeah.
But the song is 100% as super motivating, like, all in your face, let's do this, as you can imagine.
Right.
This is one of the few bands that I feel like there's some songs that I feel like are okay, but there's none that I really feel like are bad songs. They got variety. Musically, I guess like I said, they can kind of blend together, and it's almost overwhelming listening to a lot of this band.
Mm-hmm.
Because there is so much going on in the sound. All the different instruments are doing things. And that's another thing I love in music in general, when it's not just, oh, the bass is strumming these two lines and the guitar is playing these two chords, and then this one instrument or the vocalist is doing an interesting thing. I like it when they're all doing cool things.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and with this band, there are times where it almost feels overwhelming because there's all this different stuff going on. But it's not just different stuff, it meshes together.
That's another strong indicator of a quality piece of music. If you like a song enough, when you go back and listen to it again and again, you start to zero in on certain components of the performance that you may have overlooked the first time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are times where you do zero in on the drums, and another listen, you'll listen to the bass. I mean, that just makes it all the more engaging. It makes you want to listen to it even more.
Right. Yeah, no, I mentioned I love interesting melodies, but I think that's a big part of why. For the first, I don't know, many listens of the CDs, the songs did kind of blend together in my head. Because there was just so much going on.
Yeah.
I couldn't keep track of it all.
I mean, I think it makes me think of so many of my favorite artists. They've kept me engaged with all the different varieties and different styles that they've applied to, their compositions and the production of their songs.
Mm-hmm.
It's what fascinates me. That's what makes their music still feel fresh, even after having been a fan for so many years. It seems like there's always something new to discover.
Right. No, I really love that. It's kind of sad almost when you listen to some songs so much that it feels like there's nothing else new to discover.
Yeah.
I guess that's the time to, in my head, put it on cooldown for a while, not listen to a song as much.
Right.
Yeah, what are some of those bands that you really love that you go back and find new stuff in?
The first two that come to mind are Elton John and the Beatles. If you're looking for new artists to get into, they're an excellent gateway to different genres. I mean, even though they're categorized predominantly as pop rock, in both, Elton being a solo artist and all four members of the Beatles, especially Paul McCartney, I would say the most. I mean, grew up absorbing all sorts of music. I mean, and when you listen to their work, I mean, you can tell that there are classical influences. There's definitely early rock and roll in there, and even as their time as performing artists went on, I mean, they continued to have this curiosity about what was current, and they would listen to it and internalize it and start to apply it to their own work. I mean, going through their catalog chronologically, it never really, I mean, it seldom feels like their work ever was stale. I mean, some songs or albums were certainly better than others, but there was always something unique to find with each release, something to appreciate. Even when they were struggling personally, music was, I mean, I know even Elton John specifically has said that when he struggled with drug addiction, music was the one thing that kept him going. It kept him working. It kept him alive, until he finally became clean.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I think I need to listen to more of his work.
Definitely.
I can only name about one song.
Oh.
But I like that one song, so
yeah,
it's probably something worth looking into.
So much of my appreciation for music is because of both him and the Beatles, because they allowed me to develop this curiosity about different styles. Like I would hear a certain song and want to know, what's this all about? Like who are some other artists that do the same thing, or who inspired this?
Right. Yeah, that's really cool. One other thing I'd say about Stratovarius is when it comes to genre, like I think of them as a progressive metal band, and that's something that took some time to form in my head. What does that mean? Because when I was a teenager and I would see things that say prog metal, progressive metal, I just learned that meant, oh, this is cool and I like this. I didn't really know what it meant. As an adult, and mostly just looking at Wikipedia and reading stuff online, it's like, oh, progressive metal incorporates some elements of classical music, and usually there's a progression in the melody where it changes from one thing to another. Chord changes and just playing different sets of notes in different orders, and this explains why I latch onto it, because that's a big thing that I'm interested in music.
Yeah, and there's certainly a sense of evolution going through the entire song. There's something new emerging around every corner.
Right.
It doesn't get repetitive. I think that's a good way to describe some of my favorite artists. I mean, there's always a surprise to be found, especially as you go, your career spans decades and you put more stuff out.
Oh yeah.
I mean, if you to keep it fresh, I mean, you have to look for inspiration and find new ways to surprise your audience and keep them engaged.
Yeah, that's huge. It's interesting because people tend to just say they want more, but if you really did just pump out exactly the same type of thing, then it would get stale.
People would start to complain. Although, if you try to change things up, a different group of your fan base complain as well. So that's another balance you have to strike.
Certainly is. You can't please everyone. And sometimes that's not what it's all about anyway.
Absolutely. I know you touched on this a little bit earlier when you were talking about the lyrics, but what would you say is the key takeaway from If the Story Is Over? If you could sum it up, I know lyrically that's the biggest thing that comes to mind, but if there are any other components of it, that can certainly be applied to the question.
Yeah. See, when you put it like that, I can think of multiple answers, actually. Because when I think of, I'll just start with the lyrics. My first thought is, don't become that old man. Don't be so absorbed in something that you spend your whole life fixated on it and miss out on life all around you and the relationships you could have and the people you can meet, the places you could be. Take time to go out. Sometimes go out of your comfort zone, but at the very least, go out of your house and see people and do things and have real adventures in the real world. I think that's crucial. That way, you got a head start on what the old man is doing. But when you talk about other aspects, I guess I think of the melody and the way the song sounds. I guess the big takeaway from that is it's very important to take time to slow down and to be calm and to think about things and think about your life and think about where it's going. Yes, definitely good to get up and take action, but think about what you're doing first before you take drastic action.
Yeah, for me, the main takeaway of if the story is over is that we are called to utilize the time we have on earth to the fullest. We never know when that time runs out, and we don't want to feel that we've missed out as we become aware of how limited that time is in our elder years. Loving, learning, and standing up for what we believe in are lifelong processes, and we must avoid becoming complacent. If we strive to make each chapter of life as fulfilling as possible, making the last chapter the best can be a much easier process. That's how I sum it up.
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it. I mean, it kind of reminds me of at my high school graduation, the valedictorian speech.
Mm-hmm.
A friend of mine, she talked about how you can't just look back at your high school days as the good old days and as the best days of your life,
Mm-hmm.
because then you're going to miss what's right in front of you. You got to kind of look forward and go forward with the mindset that these next days are the best days of my life. And if you keep living through your whole life with that mentality, then it's going to kind of feel true. You'll live a much fuller life.
Yeah, I think it's important to have that mindset that there's fruit to bear with every season of life.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
I think it makes navigating the challenges that come with our elder years a little easier.
Yeah, definitely. See, we're sitting here talking about this with probably not a gray hair between us. But if you are... I mean, I feel like being mature for your age is always a good thing, no matter what age you are.
Certainly. No, I definitely noticed one gray hair before I left the house to come here when I was looking in the mirror, so they certainly have popped up.
Shh, you're not supposed to say that. No, yeah, it's good. I also have an aunt who talks about her gray... If someone comments about her gray hairs, usually one of her kids just joking about it. She's like, I've earned these gray hairs.
Yeah, and that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
There's good to be found in every season. You can appreciate the past, but always strive to make the most of the future, too.
Amen.
Well, I believe that's all the time that we have for today. Tim, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to be on this podcast. This has been a fantastic discussion. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been great being here. Awesome discussion. Thanks for having me on.
My pleasure. And to our audience, thank you so much for tuning in again. If you're new here and haven't already, be sure to subscribe to keep up with the latest content coming onto this channel. Again, thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next episode.